This is the third edition that we've done on the Africa Business Agenda. It runs on an annual cycle, and it also runs off on our international work in viewing the perceptions and establishing the perceptions of global CEOs. We do this publication and piece of research globally. The research is published at the World Economic Forum in Davos every year in January. And in this year, which was the 17th year of the global CEO survey, we interviewed 1,330 CEOs right across the world from 68 countries. And it's very telling to us in terms of where the world is going to go, particularly as some of these CEOs are CEOs of the largest organizations around the world. And this year, which is the third year of the Africa Business Agenda research, we've interviewed just over 301 CEOs right across the continent of Africa, covering 22 countries in that regard. There's some mega trends that are actually affecting what is happening in Africa, and these mega trends in Africa are actually a feeding off what's happening in terms of mega trends across the globe. And if I can just touch on a few of them. Firstly, demographic shift. As we're all aware, the developing world, there's an aging population in that regard. When we're dealing with developing economies, there's a younger population in that regard, and Africa is exactly in the latter situation, and it's going to reap the what we call the demographic dividend in the years to come. There is clearly an economic power shift. Power is moving towards the east, as we see it, economic power, and there's also a lot of power shift and trade now between what we call the South-South trade in that regard, and a lot of trade between emerging economies, or the BRICS economies as we know them. A very important area in that regard is accelerated urbanization. This is people are wanting to move into cities, and that's the latest trend, and that calls for huge degrees of urbanization, as we, according to our research, that by 2050 there will be 440 new cities across the African continent. These cities will require infrastructure of every nature, whether it's power, schools, highways, roads, harbors, bridges. It will need all of that infrastructure, and hence we see this tremendous interest in terms of Africa. Also, the other important mega trend in the world is around climate change, resource scarcity, and food security. Now, again, in this case, Africa plays very, very well in that because there's been huge resource finds of just about every nature across the continent. In terms of food security, the world is looking towards Africa because Africa has some about 60% of the world's cultivatable arable land that they can grow from, that they can produce food on. This is a huge opportunity for Africa. And another mega trend that is really driving all of this and will help us achieve the delivery of the mega trends is technology. This is a huge trend, and social media in that regard, and how companies are investing in that space is a very important development.